All right, what's up, everybody? It's Turtle Tuesday! Yay! Check out the dancing turtles. I need to get them out of outer space for that. But it is a great Turtle Tuesday. We've got some turtle talk to talk about. But hey, we actually have a guest, and that is Marcus DjWheat. So we're going to get him in here. We're going to get everything going, and it's going to be good. So hello, Mr. Marcus. How are you doing today?
Hello, Mr. Business. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Excited to, talk about turtles. I don't have nearly the shrine that you've got going on over there, but pretty impressive.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, but it's sometimes quality over quantity, and you got something pretty beautiful as far as Ninja Turtles. What did you just pick up?
I just picked up a limited edition, which means they made 500 of them. And it is the new Stern Pinball Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I don't know if you want to just jump right into it and go into kind of the story, but I've been excited for this for about a year, and that's about how long the rumors have been circulating in terms of them making a Turtles pinball machine. And it was so funny, Joe, because right there when the first rumor came out, it was basically like Stern's next game is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and people were like, "What? No way! There's no way they couldn't get the license. Like that's impossible from Nickelodeon, right?" Like you could imagine every single argument that was made. And oftentimes pinballs use code names, right? A lot of times like consoles and games and gaming, etc. And so based off of the code name, and I don't even remember, but we can look at it because it's the code name itself is on the play field when you open up the coin box. But I remember thinking like, oh man, maybe I'm getting my hopes up. Like it's probably not Turtles. But then at the end of the year, the new rumors started coming out, and the new rumors were things like, hey, we don't know if this is Turtles or not, but like the game's supposed to have 4-player co-op. And it's just like, well, of course it's Turtles then. I mean, what other game are you going to make 4-player co-op for? So, yeah, man, like this was one of those things where I knew I was going to get it. There's always like, a pinball machine can be a stinker, right?
Yeah.
Just like a video game. But there was just that like gut feeling that was like, yo, man, they're not going to do Turtles dirty. Yeah. This is going to be an amazing game. It's got a few of my favorite designers and coders on the game. Like I'm going to have faith. And I got to say, like, it's sitting on number 1 on Pinside right now in their top 100. Almost universally, people are saying, holy shit, this game it's really good. Which is like, I think a huge win, not only for pinball, but for Turtles.
100%. It's like Stern is such a crazy good company when it comes to these machines. Like there was that dip for a while in pinball where it just like got too complicated and the machines just had like really crappy toys in them that like you could pretty much buy off a shelf, right?
Yeah.
And like so there's always that worry, especially when it's licensed, that you're just gonna get like a couple crummy Ninja Turtle toys like bouncing around with some mediocre ramps, but they really did it right.
Yeah. And of course, like I mean, initially people were like, before people saw gameplay and when they revealed the first floor, there was like that initial reaction where it's like, well, wait a second, how does this game not have a lower play field? Like it could be a sewer play field. And I watched all their streams, and every single idea that people wanted to pack into a Turtles machine, it actually, right, like I was like, yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Mm-hmm. But Stern and the design team like took all of these things into consideration. And I think like there's something to be said about the flow of the game. And I know this is going to sound like really weird because like every pinball machine has flow, but it kind of feels like it has a ninja flow to it, right? Like where it is when you're like on the money and hitting ramps, you often are hitting like combination ramps, right? Where you like hitting from left flipper, right ramp, and then that's spinning around, and then you're hitting another, flipper shot into another ramp. So, not again, people might be like, wait, lots of pinball games have that, but the overall design in terms of like the game rules and the way it flows, at first I was like, yeah, why don't you have a sewer? Like, that's ridiculous. Of course you need a sewer, but everything else is there, right? And would I rather have a sewer than, not have or have less characters? And like, hell no. So, I don't know, man, just like really, really impressed, overall with what they've done.
Well, 4-player co-op, are there any other pinball machines that you know of that use that? Like, I know there's a couple co-op ones, but 4 players.
Yeah. I would be wrong if I said no, right? Like,
Yeah,
there
there's
are
gotta be
certainly,
something.
I've seen, and technically there's like a 2-player joust pinball machine. There's a couple others like, head-to-head type games. I think even like I was just reading this article the other day about a Total Recall pinball machine that never got made, but it was literally like 2 pinball machines together like this, and then there was an upper play field that you both advanced to play on. Again, never got made. So
What a wild
it's not like
concept.
the idea.
Yeah.
It was, dude. The thing looked like a bad mutation of a pinball machine, but it would have been so cool to see it. But I don't think there's anything quite like the way that they have integrated it, because you don't have an individual score, right? Like, you share a score and you share objectives. And so like as you're advancing in your fight, everyone kind of like shares. So everyone is adding to the progress, which is, again, it like makes sense, especially when you're talking about like the turtles, and
Teaming
that's
up,
like
yeah.
yeah, and it is like that is such a huge win when it comes to the theme, right? Because that's what people really, well, a pinball machine needs to play well, play good, be fun, be challenging, but it also, right, like a theme, it's super important to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know, and I mean, I know to some people, like, I don't care what the theme is as long as it's good. But like, we also have a Munsters, and that's like one of those themes that you just don't get really sick of. It's really well implemented, and like Turtles is another one. I played, like, for example, the Stranger Things machine from Stern, and I thought I was gonna love it. Like, I'm like, I love Stranger Things, it's gonna be great, and it just didn't really do it for me, right? But I mean, like Turtles, it's like you got the song, you got individual turtle lines, you got every like character, you just got like Krang talking shit to you. That alone is awesome, right? That's what I grew up with, like, just hearing Krang thinks he's better than everyone else. So
Well, that's a good segue. Like, the main thing that I want to talk about, because, it's one thing to have like Turtles merchandise, but there's a reason that like 30 years on, people are making pinball machines, like very high quality pinball machines. And like what Nickelodeon has done since they've taken over the property is absolutely phenomenal. Like, they have been so good to Turtles. But
yeah,
everybody that I talk to, like, when we talk about Turtles, it just brings up this amazing nostalgia factor. Like, very few people have negative memories of the Ninja Turtles. So like, I just want to, I want to know your history of Turtles. What, like, how did you first experience Turtles? How did you get into them? Tell me everything.
Yeah. So, believe it or not, it was comic book first for me.
Sure.
And it was kind of like, because if people recall, right, like a first edition TMNT right now, like a first issue comic is worth a lot of money, especially if it's in good condition. So it wasn't even that, like, it wasn't the individual issues. It was like someone handed me volume 1 of Turtles. And I remember looking at the cover, and I just remember immediately going like, this looks super gritty and has the dumbest name, but it looks super gritty. And at the time, like, if you think about the first time you hear Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like, even though it rolls off the tongue really well, believe it or not, you're just kind of like, what is this? And of course, this is during the time of like X-Men is huge, and right, like Marvel and DC are kind of at a pinnacle, right, and everything else. So I remember reading it, and I remember the first thing I remember is I was like, oh shit, like this is actually pretty mature,
brutal,
you know, because I must have been like 6th or 7th grade at the time. So, you know, and it was awesome because every, you know, just like the dynamics of the team, every turtle having their own personality, like even from, right, the cartoons for me is where like they locked in personalities for life, but they were still there in the comics. And it's impressive enough that like these black and white comics had to differentiate the turtles, not from their colored bandanas, but from how they talked and what role they played on the team. And that still today exists in every iteration of Turtles that you see. And that in and of itself is like pretty incredible, right? To think about. So that was really my first dive into it, but I didn't also have access to, right, comics in the same way. And it wasn't that long until then the cartoon hit. And at that point, dude, is Turtle Mania, right? I mean, I didn't even care that it was like, well, wait a second, it was black and white and gritty, because man, like Turtles were fucking cool, man. Like it's just, they were awesome. And again, in middle school, for me, this is just like, it was the thing.
It was the shit. Yeah, it was huge back then. And like, it's fun to hear you talk about, like, because you think about how people react to comic book movies now, and they're like, oh, they watered it down so much and stuff like that.
Right.
Everyone that I know that I've talked to that experienced the comic book first had no problem with the natural evolution of the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's weird because right, even though the Turtles were given their own personality, like that was probably the most important thing that was translated, right? Leonardo's the leader, Raph is the you know, wisecracking badass, Donatello's the nerdy one, Michelangelo's the party dude. Like, if they would have changed that, they would have ruined everything, right? Hands down. But they naturally just have this perfect synergy of what a team should be. And you know, frankly, like the message of Turtle, like I look at it now, but at the time I'm like, it was pretty good, right? Like work as a team, brotherhood, family. It doesn't matter that I'm a rat and you're turtles. You're still my sons. I'm still your dad. Like there's a lot of like really kind of deep shit that maybe just people look and say it's a kid's cartoon, when in reality, I'm like, you know, how many of my life morals are grounded in dumb things that I might have like taken in from the Turtles? And I said dumb, but they're obviously not dumb at all. Right. I have respect for them. But yeah, that's pretty amazing, because when you talk about IPs that transcend generations, right? Like, let's take, for example, I talk a lot about how I love that like Mario and Zelda have, as games, like transcended generations. So like my kid plays them. Absolutely, I played them, right? But what did I learn from Mario? And what did I learn from Zelda? You know what? At the end of the day, not that much. But like there was a clear message that was being delivered during Turtles, and it's still to this day on Nickelodeon in the movie, it like retains that message. And so, right, like as a franchise that has transcended generations, for it to keep its messaging and actually have messaging is pretty unique, right? Like, I mean, you put other IPs or other brands up against it, and you could say, well, yeah, like everyone can name a character from Street Fighter, but what did I learn from Street Fighter?
I would go with Seltzer and say that Pokemon has done a really good job of having a message throughout. That is a very big Nintendo properly. Like,
exactly.
And that's the reason that Pokemon remains as popular as it is, because at the end of the day, the message behind it is amazing. And it's a message that you can grow up with, and then you know that it's a great message to teach your kids as well.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And that's, again, like I wasn't a 12-year-old kid being like, wait a second, they're teaching me about, right? I was just like, this is amazing. How are they going to get out of this? Oh no,
Right.
And then at the end, it's like, yes, working as a team, like saving Master Splinter, not being mean to your bro. Like at the end of the day, there's a lot of like osmosis learning happening through Turtles. That and like, still living during that era, we still did a lot of like super imagination, which what I say to that is like, now it's let's play games. And before it was like, we've played all the games that we have. Like, let's go pretend to be Ninja Turtles outside, right? And make weapons with sticks and
time machine,
right? And make safe to use nunchucks that mom won't get mad at me for having. Like it's I just have so many fond memories from obviously the cartoon to the movie to listening to the soundtracks to the games. It just seems like everything that's ever come out Turtles, I've still always been, someone who's like gravitated towards it. In fact, some of my very, very early sketchbooks are all Ninja Turtles. Like they're all, and I'm sure many of us have the same tale where it's like, yeah, I just drew Ninja Turtles all the time. Like I remember getting in trouble in middle school because I would just be doodling turtle scenes on my notebook.
Marcus has been sent to the principal's office again for drawing Ninja Turtles.
I actually earned the respect of a teacher because of Ninja Turtles, because I was in a class and it was a smaller class, so maybe there's like 15 students in it, and I was like drawing, and the teacher did that thing where they like ask you a question. And clearly they know that you weren't paying attention, and I was like half listening, and I remember I was like, well shit, I'm caught red-handed, and I just said, I'm sorry, I can't answer your question because I was too into doodling on my notebook. And she was like, oh wow, well let me repeat the question. And then she did, but afterwards she pulled me aside, she's like, hey, I really appreciate the fact that you just fessed up to what you did. I was like, yeah, I just got into my drawing. And she's like, cool. And anyway, she's like, yeah, I really respect that you did that. So as an aside,
the lesson from the Ninja Turtle jumped off the page and used it with your teacher.
You gotta take responsibility, dudes. Yes, and then here it is. And I took responsibility. Yeah.
If you lie, it's just gonna make it worse.
So I know you've probably told it a million times on your show, and I appreciate it. But like, what was your first entry? I'm just super curious.
It's one of those things. So I was a little bit younger. So like, Turtle Mania had like really picked up steam when I remember, and like the first thing I really remember are the toys. More than anything is just playing with those toys and enjoying them. And like the biggest memory that I have is in kindergarten, I was playing in the sandbox with another kid, and this kid like froze and was like staring across the like playground, and he yells, Ninja Turtle, and he runs across the playground and finds a Ninja Turtle in the grass. And it was one of like the brand new, like they morph and like they start off as the baby turtle and they turn into the big turtle.
Yeah.
And I just like remember just being so like insanely jealous of that, you know, and like just being like, damn, like who just finds a
finding
Ninja
a $20
Turtle?
bill, but
Right, that was better than a $20 bill for
That's
me at the
crazy.
time. But like the first
Yeah.
movie, especially on VHS, like when the first movie was released on VHS, like picking that up, like I still remember like the turtle stamps across the VHS tape, and like, you know, I was one of those like weird kids that was just like a little bit more adult than I should have been at the time. You know, like I was like I grew up a little bit faster than most kids. Like I didn't draw pictures of me like
Sure.
as Darth Vader. I drew me behind the camera, you know, with Darth Vader, because like I wanted to make those movies already.
Right.
And so like I liked the fact that like the turtles looked so real, right? You know, in that first movie, they just looked so real. And
They did.
And like that's what got me into it, was just like, man, I like every sewer I shouted into, like, are you down there? You know, like, are you guys there? Because like the cartoon was great and it was awesome, but like, you know, it was so hard to catch, and like I only saw a couple episodes like that. I had the Burger King VHS tapes, you know, like every kid had. And so like the movies were really, you know, the most grounded turtle material that I had, the most complete turtle material that I had.
Right, because you just like, otherwise you just hoped like on syndication you would find it, or you know, I remember you know, because they at one point they had like shifted it a little bit early in the day, and I had to like run home in order to, you know, in order to watch it. And I remember like back then having no concept of like, you know, you'd look in a TV guide if you wanted to find out what was on. Like you weren't going to the internet and looking that up. So like you never had an idea of when a season began or when it ended, right?
Yeah.
And so there was nothing worse than like getting home and thinking you're about to watch a new episode and it be like a repeat of one you've seen 50,000 times, you know?
Oh, that the X-Men Dark Phoenix saga is like the first thing that pops into mind with that. It's just like, it seemed like it was the only thing playing all the time was the Dark Phoenix saga. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, just put it on loop, man. It's all good. It's all good.
Well, in syndication too, like I remember calling my local TV studio when they took the 1966 Batman out of their syndication slot. I was like, are you gonna start playing Batman ever again? And they're just like, no, we're done. We don't, like, because you know, you don't know about the rights.
Right, exactly. You're just like, what are you doing? You're messing up my whole afternoon. Come on. No, I've got to watch Inspector Gadget again. Actually, I loved Inspector Gadget. Don't get me. I'm not talking shit. But yeah, I kind of I mean, the movie was like, I mean, at that point, like Turtles was already pretty much like mainstream. It had kind of become a household IP like really quickly. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why the movie got made in the first place. Would you agree with that?
Believe it or not, the movie for the longest time was the most successful independent movie of all time. Like they literally, the company that was responsible for the toys parlayed all of the money into the movie to make, because no other studio would touch it. And it shows. And
New Line eventually picked it up. Is that right?
Yeah, New Line picked it up as the distributor for the movie.
Yeah.
And actually the people of New Line thought that it was too dark. They thought because it was that wonderful time, you know, just like almost the first NES game, right? Because the first NES game, they still have the red bandanas. Like all four of them still have the red bandanas.
On the cover,
It was made in that weird time when they were still trying to like figure out exactly their footing, and they were still transitioning from the cartoon, like from the comic universe to the cartoon universe. So it really was that perfect storm of like the cartoon was just going enough that they had probably, you know, the first couple episodes done, right? When they started doing production on the movie and stuff like that. And then like they still had so much of the, you know, you can see the original comic in that first movie still. Like there are still a bunch of the elements from like the initial first comic in that, and like the New Line people walked out and they were like, this is awful. Like there is no way kids are gonna like this because it's just, you know, they thought it was too grown up, but they also thought it was too kiddish, and like it ended up being that perfect movie that was great for kids and adults, right? Like especially now that I've grown up, like, and seeing that Splinter scene where like all fathers should care for their sons. It's like, damn, like what a great message, especially, you know, in that time when like fathers really needed to step up and take some responsibility. Like we haven't even got Captain Sisko yet as that like cool father figure, but Splinter was like, Splinter's a single dad taking care of 4 kids, and like now I actually have a friend that like, you know, he is a single father taking care of some kids and like is still into Ninja Turtles, and like his kids are his life, and like part of that he has quoted Ninja Turtles to me for about like how he's decided to like step up and do this, and it's like so cool to see those
I believe
strong father figures, you know. So before we get to the pinball machine, 2 little pieces of turtle news.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So number one, the toys have been like out of the park as well. Like Nickelodeon and NECA's line have been incredible, but one of the biggest issues that they've had is that the reseller bots, the scalper bots, have been absolutely decimating the market. Like the Casey Jones Raphael 2-pack that everyone wanted, pretty much the bots just sold it out immediately. And it's super unfortunate, and NECA has been called out super hardcore on this, to the point where they've actually fixed the problem. And so the Toka and Razor set for Secret of the Ooze has actually been up for pre-order since Friday, and you can still pre-order it right now, and the 2 figures are $80. They look phenomenal, and it's really cool to see that like NECA actually listened, and like they pretty much, after the San Diego Comic-Con stuff, like they just got chewed out so hard that they're like, we're going to make this right. We're going to fix this. And to their credit, it looks like they have done that. So good on NECA. And if you want Toka and Razor, this would be the time to get them, because you can still pick up the figures. That's awesome. The second piece of news is, have you seen anything, you know, because you like the comics, have you seen anything about Last Ronin?
I haven't. Are you going to drop some knowledge on me? Do I need to look this up?
Yes, you do. It's going to be starting in September. September 16th, I believe, is the first issue. I'm not sure if that's the digital issue. I'm not sure if comic book shops are getting it. But Last Ronin is 3 of the Ninja Turtles have died. And whichever is the 4th that is left has the weapons of his fallen brothers and is now seeking revenge.
Oh my God, dude. And no one knows who the Lost Ronin is yet?
No one knows who the Lost Ronin is. I would suggest, if you want to keep the mystery pure, don't even look up the comic book covers, because they just released the cover for the 2nd issue, and it's one of the weapons on the cover. So I don't know how much misdirection they're actually going to be doing. But yeah, so far they're really trying to keep it steeped in mystery which turtle it is. Which turtle would you want it to be, Wheat?
Ooh. Man. So I think, like, by process of elimination, I don't know if the story would be as good if it was Donatello. I'm not sure it would work with Michelangelo. So, right, because everyone kind of wants to see Michelangelo as the happy dude.
Right.
And so I feel like it's got to be, I mean, and Raphael seems too obvious. So, like, I can totally see Leo being the grounded leader who's like, nah, man, you fucking killed my brothers. Like, now it's on. So even I'm gonna have to say Leo. Yeah, I don't know.
I like that answer because I mean, of all, like, as we've been talking about it over the weeks and stuff like that, people have been talking about the personalities of the turtles, right? And the various things have done a pretty good job, fleshing out, Raphael and Donatello and Michelangelo, but Leonardo has still always just stayed kind of the stoic leader, right?
Right.
So he has everyone thinks Michelangelo has the most room to grow as a turtle, right? But he still at least wants to have fun. He has a personality of his own. Whereas
Right.
Leonardo, even in the cartoons, it's just like, come on, guys, let's do this. Every line that he seems to have is more like, why aren't you? I'm supposed to be the leader right now.
Yeah.
And so him also dealing with, because the CGI TMNT movie kind of deals with the whole idea that he's failed as a leader, and then doesn't really know how to deal with it. But
Right.
I feel like this is a way darker way of him dealing with that whole idea that his whole idea, his every ideal that he had was wrong, and it ultimately failed his brothers.
Yeah. So you agree that you think maybe Leo could be the...
I would like you said with the process of elimination, Donatello, where does the story go? Michelangelo, the follow up to the CGI movie was actually supposed to be Michelangelo dealing with his brothers being turned back into babies, right? And so it's just like, oh yeah, it's kind of the idea has been floated before, but I think it's too on the nose. I think it's too expected because, they want to see the party dude go to the gruff dude, right? And then Raphael's too on the nose. It's just too
Yeah, Raphael's the too easy because we've kind of already seen him be a Ronin in a lot of ways.
Yeah, he's always kind of gone off and done his own thing anyways, and has an axe to grind. And we know that if anything happened, if anything happened to his brothers, he would be the first one to really step up and be like, this isn't over until I'm dead. You know that he will fight the hardest, but is that the most interesting story to tell? Probably not,
Right.
So
right.
I do.
That's super awesome, though. I can't believe I didn't know about this. I've already got a pre-order in, as we've been talking about this.
I was hoping I would get to be the one to talk to you about it because I know how much you dig comics.
I mean, it's such a great idea, and I love when comic books do, let's take this character and do a what if scenario. And I mean, the one thing that I'd seen is that apparently they've had this idea since, the original creation of the Turtles comic, which is also pretty amazing to think that this almost 33-year-old idea is now finally coming to life and still can because the franchise lives that awesomely. That's great.
Yeah, they just hit issue 100 in the regular Ninja Turtle comic series as well. So, and that's a completely different universe. They're going to be introducing a female turtle into that universe as well. It's different from Venus. It's going to be Da Vinci or something like that. It's literally it's Mona Lisa. It's something Leonardo da Vinci related, which is you can't find a female artist, to name the turtle. Could we call her Frida maybe?
Yeah, interesting. That's super cool. I'm excited. Awesome.
Yeah, we'll have to maybe do some discussions on those issues as
sure
they start coming out. So
sure thing. 5-issue too. I mean, it'll be so it'll be done in February probably.
Mm-hmm.
It says September 16th, and then October 28th. Yeah, so October, maybe get 5th issue in January or February. Nice.
So yeah, we'll see. I hope that they're able. It's not one of those ham-fisted kind of mysteries. I do hope they find an interesting story way to reveal it instead of it just being it's Leonardo.
Yeah, I mean, and that will be super interesting because will a lot of the first issue be no dialogue and just kind of like, action? Because I feel like a single line of dialogue instantly gives away who it could be. Or maybe it's like kept very neutral until a certain, like, I don't know, but that's exciting to think about. I'm super stoked. I'm definitely going to read this one.
There's a lot of variety in the ways that they can decide to tell this story, like do they decide to make like, oh, they've gone so nuts with it that they've picked up their fighting style, so they've also picked up the nuances of their brothers, so they're kind of like almost shifting between personalities at this point. Like, who knows how long this story even takes place after the deaths of their brothers.
That's true too. Yeah.
Like, how long have they been stewing? Like, how long have they, and we like, who's behind this? Like, who is responsible for this even? Like, was it maybe a friend even? Like,
I when you asked that question, I immediately came to mind. I'm like, there's a lot of things that would make me real mad as a Turtle fan if they're like suddenly Master Splinter. What? No, like I will not be okay with something like that. But
I don't think it'll be something like that. But I do think it won't be just like, oh, Shredder got him. Like, I don't. Just like it's probably not Raphael. It can't be just as easy as like, oh, Shredder won. Like exactly. It's got to be a complicated situation.
Yeah, I agree.
Turtle on turtle crime? Oh man, yeah, turtles in crime. There's our other follow-up. Well, and that's what people don't realize about the comics is that like Shredder dies pretty quickly in the comics, and then it's the whole idea that they've been trained for revenge their whole life and they don't know what to do with themselves after that. So, they've always dealt with some very complex like psychological like ideas when it comes to what does it mean to like actually seek revenge against somebody.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
that's super great.
Why don't we show these awesome people a pinball machine? So
great.
I'm gonna kick it to just the BRB screen, so they don't see the process and stuff like that. But we're gonna switch over, and DjWheat's gonna show us his 1 of 500 limited edition Ninja Turtle pinball machines.
I think I have 484 of 500.
That's so glorious.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna mute here and join on my Discord. Obviously, my audio is gonna get a little bit. It's gonna go a little potato, but
we will be able to see it.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly. And I think you'll be able to hear it too. So let me make sure that you see my NDI now. Yes. Okay.
Yep, I can see that. And
then I'm gonna mute here and join general. And are you just gonna move a voice version of me up to the show?
I will take care of all that on the back end.
Awesome. All right, I'm muting and I'm joining general.
Din, 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 din. Din, 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 din. All right, you're in. I might have to, Okay, can you hear it?
Check. I'm sending. I don't hear you, and if you hear me, I feel dumb right now, but oh, maybe that was it. Oh, okay, I hear you. I think I can hear you now. Yeah, one sec. My iPad's just kind of like. Hello? No? Okay. No, I don't want that. Um, yeah, sorry. I'm gonna I'm gonna rejoin real quick. One second.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just.
Joe?
Yes, can you hear me?
Joe, you can't hear me? Hello? I can hear you. The connection on my iPad is pretty not great. Okay. Alexa, turn on turtles. All right. I can hear you. Can you hear me? No? Okay. Let me.
Oops.
Okay, you can hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, we have
All right.
contact.
It's a little delayed. Okay. Okay, great.
Excellent.
So you just want me to like show you a little.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, show it off.
Great. Do you want me to just kind of show you a little bit about the machine? What do you want me to do here?
Yeah, show us a little bit about it, and maybe play a game.
All right, great. So, um, obviously you can. Yeah. We'll see what I might be able to do here. It could be a little rough, but
Yeah,
I
it's
definitely want you to hear some of the call outs. First of all, there's the limited edition 484 of 500. So limited edition usually means that it's got all the bells and whistles. It's got a shaker motor installed.
oh, I have it on
I
studio.
really love this back glass art. it might be a little hard to see, but one of the coolest things that they did with it is like you can see that the outline, it's almost like cell shaded in a mirrored fashion.
Oh, yeah.
So when it's on, it just looks absolutely, absolutely gorgeous. Obviously it has a giant screen. This is awesome because it has individual high scores depending on what turtle that you're playing. It has individual high scores for co-op, individual high for if you do like 2 team plays. Some of the toys on the machine that definitely make it very turtle-esque is obviously you have the spinning pizza wheel. Yes, it does spin and it's magnetic, so it often causes a lot of chaos in the game. You've got, of course, the Turtles van. I think you've got to have that in a Turtles game. When you start the Turtle Power multi-ball, all of the balls come out of there, and then the theme song starts playing, which is obviously phenomenal. On the LE, there's this Raphael diverter, and basically what this does is it allows you to press this button right here, and you can change the lane that you want the ball to return to. Which becomes very important. Very important with like just like strategizing where you want the game to go. So there's a couple different multi balls. There's the Turtle Power multi ball, and you get that by shooting this ramp 4 times. And when you do, then all the balls come out of the turtle van. It starts playing the turtle theme song, and I might be able to like start a game as Donatello just so that you can hear that. Every turtle has like a unique skill set, so I'll like show you that right here. If it's really loud, let me turn
Oh
it
no,
down.
it sounds fine.
Let's go up here. So every single turtle kind of has a different skill set. So when you're Raphael, you get this already lit. When you're Donatello, you get to automatically start a multi-ball. Okay, great. When you are, so every turtle kind of has a different advantage as you're playing, and so they also have different skill shots as well. So like it's flashing when you're Michelangelo, like that's the skill shot, the turtle van. When you're Leonardo, that's the skill shot. And like one of the beauty of the design of this game is that these are obviously like RGB LED lights. So like that light can be purple for Donatello or red for Raphael or orange for Michelangelo. And like, so it's just an incredible way of incorporating in a game. So this is going to be really tough for me to like shoot and play at the same time. But what I'm going to try to do is at least start a Ninja Turtle multi-ball so that you can hear the theme song.
Sounds good.
Additionally, what I'll try to do is start an episode, because the way that you kind of like reach the end game of this pinball machine is you shoot this ramp, and then you shoot that ramp, and then you shoot the pizza parlor, and that starts an episode. And then every single episode is a little bit different, where it's like, kill all the Mousers, or fight Bebop and Rocksteady, or stop Krang from building his body. And it depends on, how it goes. So I'm going to try to, this is going to be really tough, but I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to try to hit right ramp with Donatello and see what happens here. Let's go.
Good luck.
Now we did do it. This is why I need a dead flip.
Yeah, right?
Oh, it's super hard. Okay, so this is an episode. So now you're trying to shoot like any of the shots that are lit in order to defeat or stop Shredder. I can't play with one hand.
It's all good. Thank you for showing us that amazing machine.
So, man, if only I had a little stand right here. That's a little tough. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it. I'm gonna still try this time, but. Yeah, let's see. I'm going for it. This is like the one time.
I believe.
Oh, I hit it. It did. Oh, I'm Raphael. I thought I picked Donatello. I'm an idiot. Anyway, I'm gonna come back in, but that's the gist of it. Let me show one other thing, because obviously, like the green powder coat is incredible. What's that? I just wanted to show some of the art that was on the machine. So, you know, they've got like your
with
little
the hats
turtles in detective outfits. Here is, you know, everyone in the turtle van with April driving it on the side. I like this one over here because you got Shredder in the foot. And then you've also got like a neutrino up here. And then a little bit harder to see on this side, but it's got Bebop and Rocksteady in
the drill.
You know, in their little drill. I don't remember the name of that. And then you can see the Terradrome in the background, which is pretty amazing. On the other side of here, again, you can't see it, but the turtles are in there. And then the only other thing that I wanted to notice is that, like, the little Krang toy, anytime that Krang talks, he, like, bounces up and down and gets all angry. And, I mean, they really captured everything so well with this machine. So, super happy with it. It looks amazing. It plays amazing. And I'm sure there's many, many years of gameplay. This too is also cool. So as you beat each episode, you know, it lights up for them. And then when you beat 4 episodes, depending on which turtle you are, you start Turtle Team Up, which is like a 2-ball multi-ball. And if you're Raphael, you team up with Casey Jones. If you're Leonardo, you team up with Splinter. If you're Michelangelo, you team up with the Neutrino. And if you are Donatello, you team up with Metalhead. So, like, they have crammed so much in. It's so incredible. Anyway, there you go. I'm gonna come back into the room now.
Sounds good. Thank you. Dunk, 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 dunk. Oh, it sounds so good too.
Alright, coming back. You get to see the Alright.
Alright.
Sorry for the... Let me make sure I leave this channel.
Can we... are you muted on this one still? I don't know if I can hear you now. Why can't I hear you?
You're right, I am muted. Sorry about that.
Yay!
There you go.
Yay, yay, yay. All right, well...
You should be able to hear me now.
Excellent.
Yeah, my bad. That was my bad.
No worries. There's just so many different ways to mute yourself and unmute yourself that it's just... No, I swear I'm unmuted here.
Yeah, I wish I had a dead flip super setup, but hopefully you at least got to see. I don't know how well you could hear me, but hopefully you at least got to see. I don't know if you had any questions that I might have missed, but
Oh, it was so like with the delay, it was fine. It was a little pixely, but like, oh my god, is that a cool looking machine? Like it, and like even through Discord, like the sound on it was absolutely amazing.
it's
So
really good. It is really good. Now, so the originals, the theme song is there, right? The theme song from the cartoons that everyone knows and loves, but they did have to redo it. And the first time I heard it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, what have they done?" Right? It's just a little bit it's different enough, and not in words or anything, but just kind of like
the cadence.
inflection and right? Like, but once it starts playing in the middle of everything else going on, all I hear in my head is the original Turtles song anyway, right? Like it could be sung by a cow and I would still hear the original song in my head. So like I got over that really quickly. Um and there's nothing better than like having all the flashing and then, getting the theme song to start and just, smashing ramps with the Turtles theme song in the background. It's amazing. It's amazing.
So it's funny that you mentioned that because I technically do have a Ninja Turtles pinball machine, but it's not the pinball machine that you think it is. It's actually like Pachinko. It's the Ninja Turtles pizza drop from Chuck E. Cheese.
You know what? Have you mentioned this on Twitter before?
I think I have, yeah.
Okay. I was like, yeah, that's insane, actually.
So, and it's funny that you talk about the theme song because one of the reasons that I did get it was that, like when they tried it, it played the theme song. And what I didn't realize is that it plays maybe 20 seconds of the theme song on a loop. So it goes and it goes up to Heroes in the Half Shell, and then when it's time for Turtle Power, it just like restarts at the beginning with like this weird like introduction to it, and then just goes into like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then just like restarts, and it's just like, I wish it played the full theme song. It would be so much better if it did.
So I'm not this hardcore yet, but there is like a utility that some of the pinball owners use called um gosh, okay, now I completely blanked on the name. It's like what it allows you to do is it allows you to kind of like open up the package of what is like all the sound, the video, etc. Now, first and foremost, I'm sure this voids your warranty, so I'm just like, what?
Yeah, right.
There's a few individuals that have gone through and have like added ninja rap and the original Turtle Power song or from the movie, one of the songs from like Turtles in Time that they really liked, and I was like, that's pretty awesome. I don't know if I'm gonna Pinball Browser, I think is what it was called. I don't know if I'm going to necessarily go that route, but I did appreciate that there's some individuals that have like gone super hard on like making this the definitive Turtles machine that they wanted.
Right.
And I love that you can do that. But
I never thought about I watched Dead Flip build like his own pinball machine, like, and the homebrew pinball machines that people do are phenomenal, but I didn't think about anybody like actually like modding like an existing Stern pinball machine and stuff like that. That's pretty awesome.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right, it's just kind of like a bunch of music, audio, video files that are told to play at a certain time when these conditions are met, right, in terms of like the display screen. So when I read that, I'm like, of course it makes sense that you could just replace this with something else, right? Yeah, exactly.
Like palette
And
swapping.
like life finds a way, right? So yeah, it's really cool. And then the other thing that's been awesome, Joe, is that, and you would appreciate this. So for every pinball machine that's super popular on Pinside, which is kind of the definitive, pinball forum, they have what they call a club thread. And in the club thread, it's like everyone who owns one kind of says, I'm a member of the club. And then they, it's a great place to share, like, hey, has anyone else had this issue? Or,
Sure, yeah.
can someone help me make this shot? Right. It kind of just like an easy place, you could talk to, and everyone there like has a Turtles machine so they can relate to
like
it.
a car club.
Well, a car club in a way. So like modding, as you mentioned earlier, you're talking about the toys and how that can make or break a pinball machine. People have just gone nuts because there's obviously like millions of different Turtles figures and different toys that have come out. So, like that's not the case with Munsters. I can't just go to the store and buy a Munsters, character set. Like I can't. So it's harder for me to build toys or like, things where it's like I saw someone that like put a Master Splinter over by the lair, and someone had this really cool they took an old school Foot Clan and they actually like put the hands like over the rail so that it went under the hands of the Foot Clan. I saw the first mod I'm gonna make is there's a button that is like on the the front of the machine. And the button has two purposes in the game. One of them is to change which lane the Raphael diverter sends the ball to.
Mm-hmm.
But at one point, you activate through the the pizza multi-ball. You activate like it's called the pizza eating contest. And you have to hit the button, right? Like 40 times as fast as you can while you're playing pinball. It's pretty insane. But someone made these really cool like turtle shells that you like inset your button into.
Very cool.
I was just like, dude, it looks natural. It looks like it should be there. So I'm just really excited. Got like a little like New York sewer. It's a fake sewer cover, but it's like a rug that's on its way that I had to special order, and that's going to be right in front of the machine. So that
Perfect.
That part of the
Perfect.
machine. Yes. Yeah. I mean, like that's one of the fun things about pinball is that, once it's yours, you can open it, you can do anything you want. Like there's just so much potential as far as what people have already done and what I suspect people will do. Because don't forget, like Turtles has made a lot of really cool miniature figures too.
Oh yeah.
So you can imagine just like anywhere where someone can fit a character where it like makes sense, they're doing it, and it's awesome.
That is like that's super cool. Like, and what a great way to like use the history of Turtles as well. Like using all of the classic toys, like, and that's just like that just goes to show like it's great as a pinball machine. It's great as a video game. It's great as a TV show. It's great as a live action movie. It's great as a comic book. Like, very few properties can hit every single rung on that ladder and be good at it.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, even if you consider all of the all of the like bad guys and how they've incorporated, because people are like, well, can't be a Turtles machine without Casey Jones. Well, Casey Jones isn't like a main part of the game, but he has a really awesome like appropriate camo in the grand scheme of it all. So,
right. He was only in a couple episodes of the show. Like, it was a treat when he showed up, He was like that wandering warrior that just kind of shows up, sounds like Clint Eastwood, and gets the job done.
Yeah, exactly. And so that I think it's really cool. It's really cool. I was trying to see if I could show you the that Foot Soldier mod specifically is really cool. I was just like, oh my gosh, like I know I used to have one of those figures. I don't anymore, but
right.
It would be so
with
so
the blue
cool.
gun.
Yeah. It's really, really cool. Oh, I found it.
Well, yeah, while you're looking that up, what was your like favorite turtle toy growing up? Like, what were the ones that you played with the most? What do you remember the most?
Wow.
Flashbacks.
What?
I just said flashbacks because you're like going through your.
I know. I mean, definitely of everything that I had, the 4 turtles and Splinter got the most play, right? They were
Of
the
course.
quintessential, right? Good versus evil. The turtle van was pretty magical overall, and I think that was the only turtle vehicle that I owned. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was the only turtle thing that I owned. So there you go. There's the picture of the.
Oh,
So
with
they
the
put
sewer
it
cap
perfectly
shield too.
over the ramp, so the ball just travels perfectly through it. But I'm like, what an amazing way to show off your toy from the early '90s, right? Like that's so freaking cool. I love it.
And like backing up Krang too. Like right in the background of Krang as well. Like, oh, yep, he's got his squad.
Yeah. But I mean, like, here's another guy that was basically like, yep, I'm getting all of my toys out and I'm gonna see what fits, what looks right, what doesn't. And I was like, dang, like that's just pretty impressive that you have all of these figures in pretty good condition too. Like I was impressed.
Oh, the Mondo Gecko with the skateboard. Like, that was always
Right?
one of my favorite figures. Like, I loved his little skull and crossbones with the skateboard. Oh, Shrek gifted you a sub, so enjoy your heart emotes, DJ.
Oh, thank you. There was one more. Someone added Casey Jones on top of the. Sorry, the picture sideways, but on top of the
Yeah.
turtle van, also super cool. Like, they just did great things.
I saw the intro video that Stern did, like the announcement video, and when the multi-ball popped out of that turtle van, I was just like, how freaking perfect is that?
It really is. And like the multi-balls are unique because a lot of times a pinball multi-ball is like, okay, you've got a lot of balls, hit the flashing ramps. So the Turtle Power multi-ball specifically, all the balls drop out, the theme music starts playing, and then what you actually have to do is you have to hit every single turtle's skill shot. So it's cool because you've kind of got to, use all 4 balls that come out and complete these 4 objectives to sort of like hit the big points as far as the game's concerned. So they just really like, it's obvious to me, business, that the people that made this game love turtles as much as you and I.
Absolutely.
Like, how many times you've played something or you've seen an adaptation of something where you're like, did they actually like play the originals or like did they read some of the? It is so obvious to me that I bet you this was a really hard job, because imagine having to cut things out.
100%.
Right? Like, no, like, oh, I guess we do need to like not have this one villain or.
So we're gonna have the Technodrome like come out of the middle of the. Have you ever seen the Doctor Who pinball machine where like it goes up like 3 levels, like it rises up? There's like extra stuff in it. It's like
I've never played it, but I've seen it. Yeah.
And same thing with the sewer. It's just like I'm sure they had to fight super hard to to cut out a sewer section of the game, because how do you not do like a black hole kind of section, bouncing, against Mausers and stuff like that in the sewers? And it's just like, you have to pick and choose. But like, when you do get a team of people that can just like pick cherry pick it, right? And that seems like that's what happened. And it's so cool to see like the generations of people that grew up with this stuff get to now take it and run with it, right? Because we are getting those people that really love this stuff, that are getting to take it over, instead of the people that are trying to figure it out along the way, right?
Right, exactly. That's exactly right. I mean, and it's always great when you can tell that the love and passion for something like that went into the creation of the machine, right? It just makes it that much better. Like, I've not seen a single buyer's remorse on that whole thread, which is like, let me like, it's an internet forum. People literally, just spend hours arguing, but generally it has just been like this like they knocked it out of the park. Again, with like the co-op mode, the one thing that I didn't really say about that is that like there's no better way to get people to play pinball, because I have pre-pandemic, obviously, I would have friends over, and they'd feel a little like, oh, I don't want to like, I don't want to put up a score when you guys are putting up like these billion scores, and I come in, and now like they finally made a way where it's like it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
absolutely.
You could sink the ball in 3 seconds. You've still got 25 million points because that's what I've got, and that's what you've got, and that's right. We're sharing it. So like that, whether intentional or not, just creates such a welcoming way to get people into pinball, because you can say, hey, don't worry, we'll play competitively. Everyone still has their 3 balls, and you play as you normally would, but we're doing this together. So it's like suddenly a celebration that so and so just got this multi-ball or just unlocked this episode, and not necessarily like, well, shit, how am I ever gonna like score that high on that? Which is awesome, right? Because that's not typically what you would expect in a pinball game. I really do think that Turtles is going to change the way that some of these pinball manufacturers, the few that are left, will
Yeah.
think about making pinball. Because there was even an early rumor that the co-op mode would be available online. So if you had a machine, and who knows, it's still like all of these boards come equipped with like Ethernet and shit, but
yeah,
like
you get to
if you had a
update
Turtles machine, yeah, a new code came out today, like with patch notes and everything. So, how amazing would it be if like you had to, right? And obviously they couldn't emulate, or I couldn't see your gameplay, but it could clearly say like, okay, it's your turn. You're up next. Joe got 15 million points and finished these 2 episodes. Like that's incredible to think of, like internet capable pinball machines where we could be like co-oping a high score together. Like that's awesome.
Right? It's like it, and that's like so crazy that technology is getting to this point within pinball machines and stuff like that too, because like older pinball machines are so complicated in just like every step of the way. Like you're talking miles of wire in the older machines and stuff like that. Like I had 25 full-size arcade machines. I never once wanted to get anywhere near a pinball machine just because of the maintenance required on some of those older machines, because you're like, not only are you have to worry about the technology aspect, but then there's the physics aspect and the physical aspect of it. Like is everything the right on the right angle? Is this ramp at the right speed? Are these flippers actually working the way that they're supposed to? And it's just like, well now, like with these machines, it's just gotten so much less complicated, and they can do so much more with just like the basic technology that they can then pull out, and you can just replace it now. It's a brand new world for pinball, because it was scary for a while.
It really is. I mean, it's like an amazing brand new world, because this brand new world is bringing the old world back to life, right? Like you only saw a quick glimpse, but one of the machines that I've got is a whodunit. Believe it or not, coded by the same guy that coded Turtles. All of my machines happen to be coded by Dwight Sullivan, which is just a random, just sort of happenstance. But, it's amazing to see how the technology of today is being incorporated back into older machines. So, like, whodunit, for example, it's so many moving parts, right? And one of the most common things to go out in a pinball machine are things like the switches, right? So the ball passes through it, activates the switch, that activates something. And in whodunit, there's like this very specific like ramp elevator that's a big part of the game, where it either goes up or down or to an exit. And every single lane has these really flimsy like basically open close switches. I've replaced 3 of them already, right? And it's normal. They're like, they cost 23 cents and whatever.
Right.
But now they make these like they literally plug into the exact same node spot that they would. And the way it works is it's just a magnetic reader. So it's not magnetic itself, but it recognizes if something magnetic travels over it. So suddenly this moving switch can now be replaced with this thing. Yes, it does cost $1.19 versus the 23 cents to replace. But if you imagine, I'll never replace it ever
Again.
again. And so suddenly these games like Who Done It was manufactured in 1995. They only made 2,500 of them. So somehow I managed to get a really good quality version of this, and I could probably extend the life of this pinball machine another 30 years at least, just by making, you know, a $1.50 change here, $1.50 change there.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, I gotta say, like, some people work on cars, some people, do gardens.
Yeah.
My retirement hobby is 1,000%. Like, I want to be able to take a piece of shit and I want to bring it back to life, and then, be able to pass it on to
There was
my,
nothing cooler. There was nothing cooler than like recapping monitors in those machines and bringing something, because like the companies now are thinking the longevity, right? But a lot of these things
For
were
sure.
designed to make money and then disappear.
Right.
They none of these things, people didn't think of these things as art. They thought of them as disposable ways to make money. And so
Yep.
they were never built with longevity in place. They were built, hey, make money while this is, the popular thing, and then we'll move on to the next thing,
Yep.
But now that there is such a strong collector's market behind it, like I remember the first thing that really started popping up with pinball are those LCD screens to replace the older screens in the machine. So it's like some of them actually gave color to those old like cinematics and stuff like that, and it was just so cool. Like, and that was like, oh man, like maybe pinball is gonna start coming back. And like, yeah, with just with how much they've listened to the community about like how much the quality of their game sucked, for a while. Because like I think about like the Dark Knight pinball machine, and like it's just it's boring and it's blah. Like same thing with like the first Lord of the Rings one. Like there's nothing really interesting about it. All the rules are super complicated. But now like it's almost like the second golden era of pinball.
It really does seem like it. And for I mean, because folks like Stern, Jersey Jack, etc., like they're putting a lot of time and effort into, we're not in the heyday of pinball, so they've got to make hits every time. They've got to hit home runs every time, pretty much. The collector market is interesting because in addition to older machines like growing in value, you've now got folks like Chicago Pinball who are re-releasing some of the most popular machines of all time. And that in and of itself has been like a big resurgence for pinball, right? Like suddenly you can get a perfectly made Midnight Madness or Attack from Mars.
Yeah.
And obviously people are like, when are you going to give us a Twilight Zone? When are you going to give us an Addams Family? And those inevitably I think will come, but you've kind of made it to that new era when people are like remastering the games that it's like, well, we only actually made 5,000
right
of these.
Yeah,
so like
they were for bars.
Finding one, right? I mean, a redone Addams Family, I think probably cost you like $5,000 new when it came out. You can't find one for under $7 in good condition.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So like, how many things do we own that go up in value that aren't? I mean, they are rare, but not like rare to like a Picasso painting, right? Like a completely different type of rarity. Really kind of amazing. So I love pinball. I would hate to see it die. I think it's a really cool pastime. I feel like it doesn't get enough. It doesn't necessarily get enough love. I think people don't realize how skillful the game actually is. And I mean, like, frankly, I mean, and I'd like to say I've over my time too, whether esports and everything else, like I played a lot of like incredibly skillful games, but I mean, every pinball game is like a blind Dark Souls run.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's kind of how I feel. The challenge is just it's way out there, and there is heavy satisfaction in like just doing
Putting up a
well and
score,
yeah.
hearing the hammer, hearing the knock.
Exactly.
Yeah, so when I started collecting arcade games, I started looking into like the history of just arcade stuff in general and pinball, and I came across the documentary Special When Lit,
I've seen it.
and that was when I realized like pinball had such a greater depth to it than I had ever seen before.
Yeah.
Like the whole idea of like using the flippers to like cradle the multi-balls instead of just, constantly trying to like juggle them up into the play field.
Yeah.
Like when I first saw that for the first time, it like blew my fucking mind. Like, wait, like, you can do that, like, and it makes sense, and then it's like, oh, you do realize that, like, it's not just brightly flashing, like, no, there are goals for you to accomplish, to do things and to get multipliers and stuff like that. It's wild.
Yeah, I mean, to put it into perspective, Turtles has what they call a wizard's mode, right? You accomplish these things, and then you do this, and you like it's like you reach this mode, and you're gonna score well because like all the right things have happened. I probably won't see that for a couple years,
Right?
and I'm okay with that, right? Like it constantly gives me something to sit down and like I've made it to the team ups, which is like you beat 4 episodes and then you get a team up. But you have to beat 8 episodes
Oh my
to get to the
God.
final battle with like Krang and Splinter. And Shredder. So like that's exciting to me. It's not, I'm okay having something that will challenge me for years to come. I mean, Munsters Madness is like the wizard mode, and I've owned that machine for over a year, and I think I've hit it maybe 4 times in that, and arguably it is way easier. Munsters is way easier. In fact, I was going to say, I made the same comment to my wife this morning or this afternoon because we played a few games. I said, I feel bad for all the kids that are going to be like, a Turtles pinball machine, and they're going to walk up and this machine's going to kick their ass because it is hard. It is hard, but that's good, right? Like
Right.
that means it has a lot of longevity. It will likely be right. Like this could change tournament play because show me the best 4-player pinball machine or pinball players that will like go up against each other for like the best co-op score. I want to see 4 pinball wizards play together and make my like I think we've scored like 32 million in the co-op mode, which I think is pretty good, and they're like probably posting up 1 billion, right? Like I can't wait to see that.
We're gonna run into the next event if you guys don't stop soon.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, that's wild. Well, I do think that's a pretty good place to wrap it up. Thank you very much for so this isn't just about Turtles, it's about toys, and I mean arcade games, pinball machines. It's all toys and stuff like that. It's all great stuff that people get to play with and enjoy in their pastime. So thank you for sharing your love of pinball and Turtles with me today.
You're very welcome, man. 2 things that I love, and obviously when you sandwich them together, like the perfect storm happens. And I'm definitely very happy with my latest purchase. So
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to see it more. Maybe we'll see some pinball streams out of the DjWheat channel.
I would like to do that. I've been slowly but surely collecting things needed. I showed off that I changed my configuration, and that was actually one of the things. Like I needed to get to this new configuration so that I could like, because I would like to have a setup that makes it very easy for me to switch.
Mm-hmm.
I know what Jack goes through to like switch from one over here to one across the room. So I'm working on it. I would like to.
Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for being here. And join us next time for another Turtle Tuesday.